Might as well start.
Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Kelly Valen, and I am the president of AI Maryland currently. I was president-elect last year for AI Maryland, and then previously served as president for AIA Chesapeake Bay for 3 years, plus various other roles before that. I am an associate architect on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the geography, but I'm on the other side of the bay by the beaches. Um,
The good part.
well, sure. Um, So I would like to thank everybody for taking time to be here today. Not only our candidates, but also
I heard
everybody
the
who's,
stories of I guess it's the blame goes to the Baker administration. Everybody talks about that was
Sorry.
um, so not only our candidates, but everybody who is taking time out of their day to be here for this chat as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is a very tight schedule. We have a lot of people to get through, very little time to do it. So quickly we'll go through some welcome introductions, and then I will go over our ground rules, and then we'll get started with this chat. So actually, let me start with the ground rules. So once we get into the questions with our candidates, each candidate will have about 60 seconds to introduce themselves and give an opening statement. And then we'll go through a couple questions for each candidate. You'll get 45 seconds to answer when it's your turn. And then you'll have a closing remark opportunity, which is about 30 seconds. It's not a lot of time, so we'll be concise but impactful. And then I ask that our folks that are joining us who are not a candidate, you please, if you have questions, we are going to be more than happy to have the candidates address those questions, but please save them for the end when we have open Q&A time. You can put them in the chat, write them down, text them to me if you have my number. We'll make sure they're addressed if we have time. So we'll go ahead and I'll introduce all of the candidates at once, and then we'll go right into our president-elect candidates for questions. So to introduce everybody, so I'll start with our 2027 president-elect, 2028 president candidates. And I'm going to apologize now. I am absolutely terrible with names. So I may butcher quite a few of these. So first we have Raya Ani, FAIA. Kenneth J. Filarski, FAIA, Kimball L. Hales, AIA, Joyce Owens, FAIA, David E. Sellers, AIA, and Willie L. Zambrano, FAIA. So those are the 6 candidates for president-elect. Then we have 2 candidates for 2027 through 2028 secretary, Latoya Nelson Kamdong, AIA, and then Jonathan Matthew Taylor, AIA. And then we have 4 candidates for the 2027 through 2029 at-large director. Samuel Duff Combs, AIA, Jeff Paspa, FAIA, Dana A. Pomeroy, AIA, and Sarah Wynick, AIA. Sorry, that is a lot of names to just throw out there. So with that, let's go ahead and roll right into round 1 with our president-elect candidates. I'm going to go in the same order that I introduced everybody, and we'll start with 60 seconds of an opening statement / introducing yourself. Jacqueline, we have a clock to keep everybody on track?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know. I have one on my screen, so I will let you know.
Okay. Candace, as you're speaking, kind of keep an eye on Jacqueline a little bit, and she'll raise her hand when your time is coming to a near close. Does that work for you, Jacqueline?
Yep.
Okay, sounds great. So let's go ahead and start with Raya.
Hi, I decided to run because the profession, I believe, is under threat. So for many of us, our identity, purpose, and a lifelong commitment is architecture. So for me, after 37 years in the profession, it became critical to step in. And I wanted to support my fellow leaders at AIA. I've dedicated myself fully for the last 3 months to researching listening, and meeting with architects and leaders across the United States and internationally. And that's what I promised during my Leadership Summit speech. I said I would co-shape the 4-track architectural leadership system framework. And I did that with members and leaders across the profession. And I visualized it as a building constructed from the ground up, from its foundation to
Okay,
its
that's time.
structure, to its skin and future systems.
Thank you, Raya. Okay, and then we'll move into Kenneth.
Good afternoon, all. Pleased to be here. My opening statement, I'm going to double down on what I said in my speech and printed, is that there's enough going on around us. So we need to have a structure and an organization that can answer all the questions that we have before us, and the ones will come up. So I believe in the architect, the extraordinary power of one, the individual architect being our focus of the EIA. And 100,000 architects in the EIA is the power of many, our power of collective genius, invention, and dedication. 200 components of the EIA. That's our critical link function, our pivotal lever arm between national and the members. And the EIA is the power of one with the power of many, our force multiplier internally and externally. So again, as I said, imagine
15 seconds.
be the global organization model, strategically support all components, connect, coordinate, cooperate, and collaborate.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Perfect.
Okay, so we will then move on to Kimball Hales.
Hi, all. Thanks for having me. Kimball Hales. I'm with AIA Kansas City. I live in Kansas for about the last 20 years. I have 3 adult children that are out of the house now, so I feel like I have time to serve in the AIA more than I did previously, and I'm in a good spot professionally as well. But I've served on the AIA Kansas City board a couple of times, and it's a big SIBS, large chapter, staffed, high functioning, and I also do a lot with AIA Kansas as well, so I understand how kind of a geographically challenged chapter where we're spread all out functions as well. I've also kind of served on the local architectural foundation here, raising money for scholarships. There's a disparity between on the state line road between Kansas and Missouri, and so we focus on scholarships for underprivileged kids that are trying to become architects.
15 seconds.
I've worked in large chapters, small chapters. I understand the value of staff versus the time of volunteers. And a shameless plug for KC-Mo. We're filling a surge right now. World Cup. We're having a case conference here, and the Women's Leadership Conference will be here this year.
That's time.
Thank you, Kimball. Okay, so then we'll hear from Joyce. Oh, sorry, Joyce, you're muted. There we go.
Thank you. So everyone, hi, I'm Joyce Owens, FAIA RIBA. Why am I running and why do I feel I'm ready? I have founded 2 practices in 2 countries, 2 successful design practices that have had an impact on their community and internationally. My first practice was in London, and my second practice is now in Southwest Florida, where I focus on resilient, climate-sensitive designs. I have also served the AIA at a local, state, and national level, a local president of an unstaffed practice, the state president of AIA Florida, and National Strategic Council, where I was involved with governance and impact. I think it's very important, this ability to
15 seconds.
understand the profession and know how the structure works so that it's possible to be more influential from the start. So I look forward to the opportunity of you focusing on my life's mission, which is communicating value. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we'll hear from David Sellers.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for having me. I apologize. I will have to jump off early. I have to give the keynote at an affordable housing summit here at the University of Hawaii. But that's a good introduction for me to start with. I believe in the power of the AIA. I witnessed that professionally and personally after the fires in Lahaina. The AIA was there for me. I want every member of the AIA to experience that and not have to go through a tragedy. I believe that we can solve some of the largest crises that we're faced with as a society. And as architects, we're more relevant and we're more prepared to do that than any other profession. The affordable housing crisis and the climate crisis, we can build our way out of the affordable housing crisis, and we can do so at solving the climate crisis at the same time, all while generating new revenue streams for architects and being prosperous in the process. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, and then Willie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm an architect, an advocate, a first-generation immigrant from Ecuador for over 30 years, I practiced with one unwavering conviction that architecture is for everyone, not as a tagline, but as a challenge and an invitation. I've served this institute at every level, from chapter treasurer to state president to strategic council representative. And I even established a scholarship foundation, not because the roles were handed to me, but because I climbed every rung deliberately and built something at each one. I know what it means to navigate this profession without a safety net, and I know what AIA can be when it truly works for its members. Our profession stands at a critical juncture. Climate, equity, and access demand bold leadership. Small firms, underrepresented voices, and communities that have never had a seat at the table. They deserve one. I'm running to finish that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will move into the moderator questions. I'm going to ask 2 questions for each group of folks. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer. You'll get about 45 seconds to answer, if my math is correct. And then I'll go in the same order. I'll give everybody an opportunity to speak. So the first question for each of the president-elect candidates will be, how will you set the tone for your presidential year, and what early signs will members see? So we'll go ahead and start with Raya.
Okay, so I believe in listening to members and to leaders across the Institute. And you would see me, I had dedicated a phone number, an email, and all my platforms are dedicated to communication. So for me, communication is the most important thing. I am an empathetic leader and a very decisive leader as well. So I listen first, understand what the issues are, and then try to come up with solutions along with the members or with the leaders. So I'm very much hands-on and very well, like an open door. And that's what I believe in. I believe in connecting with people and having a dialogue and empowering each other.
Thank you. All right, Kenneth, same question to you.
Well, one of the things that should be communicated to the AIA members is that I'm a sole proprietor, and I've survived and thrived because I'm multidisciplinary. I have multiple assets to my practice and my work, both privately and publicly. But so I think that needs to be communicated, is that our members should be more multidisciplined across the board. But the other thing is that it's critical. It's not necessarily being the president that's important, but the president-elect, the first 6 months after the election, that's critical. Then the president-elect 12 months before presidency. I'll open my doors, my phone. I'd like to have a dedicated place where all members can call me, contact me. I want to hear their ideas. I want to move forward that way.
Thank you. All right, Kimball.
Hi, I think this is a big organization and there are a lot of voices. And so the direction that we need to follow as an organization has kind of been set by the Strategic Council, and with the strategic plan, the PACE plan, maybe you've heard of it. So I think we want to make sure all of our energy is focused on practice, advocacy, climate, and equity. And I think we would move the needle in those areas if we have strong leadership that finds the people that are already doing the work and supports them with time and resources. Again, listening to those people that have already been engaged in those areas, they've got a head start. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And leadership's role is to just make sure we identify and feed those things and make as much progress as possible, and then share that with the rest of the organization so they can also move forward in their local communities as well as their local chapters.
Thank you. All right, Joyce.
Yeah, all on board with exactly what Kimball said. I think that our PACE strategic plan has given us a framework to work within. I think our framework for design is another framework that we can work within. And now, as our governance committee, our task force is working hard to put together a new task force. I think with those three frameworks in place, I think someone that's collaborative, that can make those things happen, not someone that wants to change things or do things different, but someone that can lead. I am a person that sees the end game. It is my strength. I call it my superpower. I'm very good at seeing the game, the end, and I'm very good at figuring out how to get us there. So I think that's what they would see right away. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was perfect.
All right.
Sorry, time-wise.
All right, David.
Perfect. I'm a big fan of what Socrates says. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so you should listen more than you talk. So that's going to be one of the main things that I believe in, and how I conduct business and how I run my firm. But as far as the AIA is concerned, in general, I believe that the power is at the local and the state level. That's where members live, that's where members work, and that's where we put shovels in the ground, and that's where we design our projects. But I also believe that we have to transition very quickly to strategically planning for 2029. This presidency is very, very critical, because 2028 is going to be very important that we are focused and ready in 2029 to help the federal government rebuild and re-implement departments and policies that have critically endangered housing, as well as our profession.
Thank you. All right, and Willie.
Thank you. So members will see me immediately beginning to breaking down silos, convening small firm leaders, component presidents, and underrepresented voices in the first 90 days to co-create a shared action agenda. Just like Joyce mentioned, the 3 platforms that are out there, because the tone I'll be setting is one where the foundation is strong. The moment is urgent, and we finish the work together collectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So our next question for everybody is, in 1 or 2 sentences, what is your vision for AIA over the next 3 to 5 years? And so we'll go ahead and start with Raya as soon as I find your name in the list so I can spotlight you. There you are.
Okay. All right. So,
there we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Yes. Okay. So I want AIA to be the place architects actually feel at home, when they feel connected, supported, and valued. That's really my passion and commitment. And I call it architecthood, not just between members, but between members and leadership. Because honestly, we're all navigating the same challenges, the same shifts, which is technology, climate, economics. I want architects to feel supported, empowered, respected, and to practice with dignity and joy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Kenneth.
Very simply, I think that number one, the individual architect is extremely important. Without the individual architect, we would not have an Institute of Architects, and we are the American Institute of Architects, not the American Institute of Architecture. We do architecture as architects, but where I think we should be is that right now there's not a crossover in information. And it's sad. We thrive. The engine that and the fuel for the governance task force and whatever that framework is information, and that has to be reliable, has to be consistent, and has to be integrated and related to other information across the institute. One small instance is that the radar committee from the AIA and the diversity committee, they're cross collaborating because the diverse in small populations.
Sorry. Well, thank you. All right. So then, maybe my list. Kimball.
Hi, so I think in AIA there is a place for everyone. The key is just being able to find your place where you can contribute most effectively. That might be local level on a school board or on a city council committee or something like that, or it might be with an AIA chapter, or it might be with AI National and COAT or NAC or YAF or one of the knowledge communities. We need all of the architects working to stay visible, relevant in all the public discourse, so we can make sure they understand the value of design and placemaking.
Thank you. Joyce?
So I feel that in the next 3 to 5 years, my mission is to communicate the value of architects to the public and the decision makers, because I feel that once that we do that, once our value is clearly understood, everything will change. It will strengthen our influence. It will support fair compensation, and it will secure our role at the decision-making table. So I feel that the value of the AI membership and being a national leader for me in this moment would be the ability to align other people around that goal that I'm trying to do, which is all part of what we're doing anyway in the PACE strategic plan. So I feel that I am ready to do that. I'm ready to work at it, and I'm ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and David.
For me, it's focusing again on the local and the state level advocacy. So with mayors, city council people, and then at the state level, legislators and governors. One way that I believe that we can do that is getting architects involved is through our Chief Architect Initiative that already exists within the AIA. Secondly, I want to develop more strategic partnerships with community-based organizations like Habitat for Humanity. I want to see architects meeting people where they're at, swinging hammers, sweating, building houses, and changing the perception that we are a liberal, elite, aloof, professional organization, and more that we are a community-based organization committed to the communities around us and building our stature and building our value monetarily by doing so.
Thank you. And Willie.
Oh, my vision is that an AIA that moves from aspiration to action, where regenerative design and design excellence is a standard practice. Small firms have the tools and advocacy they need, and the profession finally reflects the communities we serve, so that architecture is for everyone, not just as a tagline, but a lived reality for every member, every component, and every community we touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that are our questions for the president-elect, president candidates. So now each candidate will get 30 seconds for a closing statement and or remark, and we will still go in the same order, and we'll start with Raya.
Okay, so I want to say that I have practiced in small firms, medium-sized firms, large firms, till I started my own firm, which is a firm based in New York and based in Dubai, and I work internationally. So I practice and I lead by example. I have a strong following, people who find me to be inspirational, and I have an energy of 5 people in one, and I am fully dedicated to empower architects, to create a great value, to create advocacy, but also to serve on an institutional level all the trust and transparency and the practice knowledge that we need to deliver value to architects. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Kenneth.
As an AIA fellow, lead fellow, and a citizen architect, I've crafted a non-traditional, innovative, and varied portfolio of larger scale, award-winning, multidisciplinary projects. State law authorship, multiple grant funding, community and K-12 design engagement, disaster response, building codes, coastal riverine planning, zoning, and climate action, climate policy with action. I bring to you all thoughtful, holistic, multidisciplinary knowledge, effective collaborations, design achievements, policy and legislative accomplishments, community and national AI leadership, experience, wisdom, action, and certainly joy. We have to have fun in what we do, even though we're in a serious business. We could bring value to our.
Thank you. Okay, and Kimball.
The best thing that AIA has done for me is to expose me to really good people. I've always been surrounded by good people in AIA. And I think the role of leadership is to listen to those people, reach out, make sure communication is strong. So everybody has a voice and leadership can hear that voice and collectively implement on that. I don't have all the best ideas, but I think there's people that are already making progress. Listen to those people, help them move forward. And we can share what they've learned and their challenges and help other chapters that may be struggling with similar things. So
Thank you. All right, and Joyce.
So I think that this is a defining moment for our profession, and design really is about people and communities. It's not just about buildings, and we have to tell the rest of the world that. I think we have to bring our value to society more clearly. So I think it's a time that we have a vision and a call to action to the AIA. I think the architects, we have to lead on climate and resilience and the built environment. And we have to talk about what we do, and we must advocate boldly for ourselves. We must tell our story, and we must lead confidently. And the AIA can provide us with the tools to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And David.
So I run a multidisciplinary firm that has made and kept a commitment since 2020 to only design new buildings that are net zero at a minimum. Our firm has proven that architects can develop new revenue streams and prosper by focusing, on the climate crisis and affordable housing. I understand the reality that a lot of architects are going to be facing in the coming years, which is going to be disaster recovery, the need for preparedness, and the need for resiliency. So I want to solve all those crises, the affordable housing crisis, combat the climate crisis, and make more money and be more resilient in the process. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, and last but not least, Willie.
Thank you. I think the path forward is clear, and it really belongs to all of us. My platform is built on regenerative design that heals communities and our planet. Strong advocacy that elevates architecture's value at every level of government, and collective solutions that break down silos. So every component, every firm, and every voice is heard. Latinos are over 18% of the US population, but less than 5% of AI membership. Small firms are 75% of this profession. Wow.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that wraps up our time with our president-elect and 2027 president-elect, 2028 president candidates. We will have an opportunity at the end to ask candidates additional questions. So we're going to move into the 2027-2028 secretary candidates. It'll be the same format, 60 seconds, 45 seconds, and 30 seconds. So we will start with the opening statements, and we will start with LaToya.
Hi, my name is LaToya Nelson Camdang, and I'm honored to be running for AIA National Secretary. I currently serve as an at-large director on the national board and co-chair the Board Knowledge Committee. Professionally, I lead operations and strategy at Eniad Architects, where my work focuses on governance systems, communication, and helping complex organizations operate effectively through periods of change. You may have heard we were just acquired by Canon Design. So even navigating that as the profession is changing right in front of us. Beyond practice, I also teach at Pratt Institute, where I've been teaching for almost 20 years. So I'm operating at the intersection of practice, academia, and research, which strengthens my perspective and advocacy around the future of the profession and the evolving realities architects are navigating today. My campaign is focused on prosperity and practice, equitable pathways for emerging professionals, and stronger communication between national and components. And thoughtful, oh, it's time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jonathan.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Taylor from AI Rhode Island. My candidacy is focused on the specific responsibilities of the Office of Secretary, with qualifications grounded in 10 presidential appointments to advise the Secretary, 7 of those to the Secretary's Advisory Committee, 2 to the Resolutions Committee, both committees chaired by the Secretary. This means I've advised 6 of the last 9 secretaries of the Institute. I've served on the board previously, the larger board, and the executive committee, and the strategic council, giving me unique insight to both sides of our governance change over the years. I've prepared bylaws and rules revisions at all levels of the Institute to include replacement bylaws for the New England region, AI Rhode Island, and the National Associates Committee. I'm running this year primarily because of the governance task force recommendations anticipated this year, which will likely lead to bylaws and rules revisions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move into our 2 questions for the candidates. The first question I will start with is, how will you use the secretary role to improve communication between the board and members? And we'll start with LaToya.
I think communication starts with recognizing that it cannot simply be information flowing one direction from national to members. Members want to understand not only what decisions were made, why they were made, and what informed them, and how they can engage in the process. I think in my last 3 years on the board, I've learned this firsthand, and I think we've made adjustments as a board in terms of more transparent, open communication that's more of a dialogue back and forth. On the board knowledge committee, one of our mottos was moving at the speed of trust. And I think scaling this to the national level is so critical as the governance task force is moving forward, and as we're getting buy-in from.
Thank you. All right, and then Jonathan.
Good question. With our current structure, particularly with the Strategic Council, we need to use our structure, and I'm looking to facilitate sharing of information with the council, starting with board meeting agendas at whether it's redacted and the backup's not included, but the council would know when is the board meeting, what's the basis of their discussion points. So if they want to talk with a board member, they have a fighting chance to reach out and engage in advance of a board meeting. After a board meeting, I'm looking to quickly turn around a summary of board action to the council. Meeting minutes are 30 days out. It's not really helpful, but a summary should be adequate to close the feedback loop with the Strategic Council, making them a true partner in building trust.
Thank you. All right, and so the next question for our candidates here is, are there changes to AIA's governance structure you would advocate for, and why? And we'll start with LaToya.
Yes, so the governance structure, I believe the task force, especially with the Knowledge Advisory Forum, elevating subject matter expertise in the governance structure is so important, not only for the #1 concern for our members, which is value, but also for our position, not only just with our membership, but our standing within society. I think that, you know, elevating knowledge and architects as the go-to expertise when there are wildfires, when there are climate issues, is really important to our member value.
Thank you. All right, Jonathan.
Thank you. The governance task force is still working through the recommendations. The last 4 town halls were recorded. I highly recommend you watching them if interested. One change that has been floated, it's buried in the proposal, is the recreation of the executive committee, or the XCOM. It was removed in 2016. However, officers are still meeting informally. An organization at our scale should not have officers meeting informally. Recreating XCOM officially creates the entity. Meeting minutes should once again be maintained. From a compliance standpoint, we should be documenting that we're verifying we're complying with the federal antitrust laws, not exposing the institute. And that's currently not happening if they're meeting informally. The role and scope of XCOM is different question than recreating it. I do think XCOM could be an agenda committee as opposed to act in the absence of the board.
Thank you. Well, thank you both. Those are our 2 questions. So we'll go into the 30-second closing statement, final statement. So we'll start with LaToya.
Yes, thank you. AIA Maryland, thank you for presenting us this opportunity today. That's very, I would like to say that I believe my experience more broadly the diversity of my experience, in terms of research, advocacy, and academia and operational structure, makes me a great candidate for AIA National Secretary. I am, a passionate advocate, and I think the stepping into this.
Thank you. Jonathan.
Thank you. I've been preparing for the role of secretary a long time. I became interested in the position when I served on the board 15 years ago, and I've assisted many secretaries since then. My national, regional, and local chapter experience has given me wide perspective of how the Institute, including chapter level, works, particularly with working with executive directors, how the chapters actually function, how the Institute actually functions. The secretary's role is about stewardship. The role benefits from direct preparation and long institutional perspective. And I hope you agree my candidacy aligns with qualifications and values.
Thank you so much. All right, so thank you to our 2027-2028 secretary candidates. So now we will move into our 2027 through 2029 at-large director candidates. And you give me one moment. Okay, I lost my sheet with my other two names. Okay. So same setup, 60 seconds, 45 seconds, 30 seconds. And we will go ahead and start with Samuel Duff Combs. With 60 seconds to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Sam Combs here, the rabble-rousing community organizer of a group of historic preservation architects. You may have heard of our team that has tried to save what's left of the White House, interrupt the planned demolition of the John F. Kennedy Center, and stop ridiculous, out of scale, out of time, out of place federal projects. I'm proud that you can find news of our work in the Architects newspaper and national media. I will have to admit that it's been a challenging experience organizing architects and getting them to agree, but when it's this important, herding cats is worth it. I just sent out a letter this morning to our president, Ilya, and AIA board, thanking them for their lawsuit to protect the JFK CPA with 53 historic preservation architect signatories, and requesting that our AIA take further steps to protect our historic structures. I've been a member of the AIA since I graduated from the University of Oregon in 1977 and returned to Alaska to begin my internship. Thank you.
Time.
Thank you. All right, and next up we have Jeff.
Great, thank you. So I'm running my campaign on the values, ideas of value and visibility, and how we can change the narrative of the profession. It's a concept I think a lot of us have talked about, but really, understanding how architects can change the course that we're on, because I think that we're really finding ourselves kind of off the path. And I think that we can accomplish this through advocacy and civic engagement, which I was really excited to see that as one of the new pillars of the 2026, 2030 strategic plan, because we need to be in our communities, showing that we have things to bring to the table outside of just design, because that's the thing that when the community sees us, that they're going to value our services more, they're going to value our ideas, they're going to value our problem solving more. So I think that we can do that collectively. It has to start at the state and local level, but if we have national backing and national oversight and that collective to make sure that we're all speaking with one voice, we're all rowing in the same direction and focused on how we can be an asset to the community, I think we'll see our value and visibility improve.
Thank you. All right. Lost it. Sorry, give me a second. All right. Dana.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy about being able to address you today. Especially talking to members, that is amazing. And what I want to be doing as your next at-large director on the board is listening to members. I'm getting into this race because, like a lot of my friends in the architectural world, they have been leaving AIA. They don't see the value in it. And I could do the same thing, but I'm not going to do that. So honestly, I've done this in other organizations, associations. I'm I believe, a born leader. And I want to get in there, roll up my sleeves, and make sure that this organization brings value to every member. I've been a small business owner, and now I've been in large firms as well, worked around the world, saw architects, and I hire architectural firms around the United States for design build projects all the time. And I hear them and all their concerns and worries about AIA. And I'm going to be in there trying to make that change to make sure that AIA brings value to each of them. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Sarah.
Definitely. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm immensely grateful to be with you all today. So I see the role of at-large director as one of connection and service, carrying the work of the board to our members and bringing our members' voices back to the board. Though I now call Dallas home, that work for me began in my own backyard with AIA Atlanta nearly a decade ago and has expanded through connecting and supporting state chapters across the country, and most recently through shaping AIA's strategy and vision as a part of the AIA Strategic Planning Committee. So I have really seen the organization and been a part of engagement in many different facets and scales across the last decade, and especially seen that in 3 pillars with an evolving practice, deepening value, and the expansion of belonging. And though I recognize, you've seen one chapter in the AIA, you've seen one chapter, and that there are unique daily realities we all face, I've also seen how those are navigated and shared. And I believe that when connected, that impact that we are all seeking and making in our own backyards really becomes collective. Because for me, the AIA as an organization is best when it is one that is by and for its members and the communities we serve.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and move into our questions for these 4 candidates. The first question is, what's one concrete thing you'd push the board to take up in your first year? And we will go ahead and start with Sam. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. One of the things I've been pushing for is the accountability of the AIA and the AIA board to react in a timely manner to the destruction that's been going on in Washington, D.C. with the East Wing of the White House and the impending ballroom. And I'd like to see the AIA react more quickly. I'm pleased we've been lobbying them for the last 7 months to take action, and they did on the John F. Kennedy Center. So that's one thing I would like to see done. And there are other historic preservation projects I'm working on in D.C. now, like the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. So that's what I'd like to do. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Oh. And then Jeff.
Yeah, so to me, it's advocacy related. And the thing that I'd like to really continue, right? There's work that, for those who are in the know, SLGN is the State Local Governance Network. I think that we can reactivate this in a way that is really informative to what is happening at the national level, but also understanding that as states and locals build out their local advocacy efforts, that there's a network out there that does exist, right? But it needs to be strengthened. It needs to make sure that we have model legislation. It needs to make sure that we have the best practices, highlighting the best bills that are out there to make sure that when the bill comes to your town, your state, that you have the ability to already have language to start with, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because I've seen lots of great ideas throughout the country, but sometimes we end up like starting from scratch too often. So roll out those playbooks in year 1.
Great, thank you so much. Dana.
Thank you. The one thing I want to achieve right away is small businesses, breaking down the barriers for the small businesses so they can get involved and be part of AIA and the voice of AIAs, along with the sole practitioners out there. They're unappreciated, and they need to have full access, and they need to have easier ways to have access to the board members to share their concerns. And also the small businesses, they just don't have time for it. So we got to make things easier for them to get more involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then our next question will be.
Kelly, I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, I love the opportunity to answer this one.
All right, let me spotlight you real fast, Sarah. All right, sorry. There you go. Thank you.
All good. Yes. So I have 2, but I think the first one, we've heard for the last 5 years plus about accountability, transparency, and communication. So without having to propose any governance restructure, push the board to clarify board level communication by defining an at-large contact on the board based on grouped geography. Now, that might not necessarily be where a board member lives or works, but that based on geographic location, that every single chapter and leadership and component knows a board level member on the board who is their point of contact that really stitches together not just the board and the council, but also the board to our state and local components. And the second one is setting up a framework and a repository for resource sharing that's aligned with both the goals of the strategic plan and the priorities of our members.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So our next question for everybody will be, how can AIA better support emerging professionals, small firms, and the licensure pathway? So we will go ahead and start with Sam.
One of the things that AIA Alaska has done over the past 6 months, we just started this last fall, was to introduce a mentorship program. And I was fortunate enough to be chosen by one of our mentees, a young woman who's a historic preservation architect learning at the National Park Service. And since I've been so involved with protecting our historic structures over the last 7 months, it was a good opportunity to work with her, get her ideas, and give her my ideas and present an example of what you can do to be involved in the AIA in a national practice. Thank you.
Time's up.
Thank you. Okay. And then Jeff?
Yes, I think there are a number of ways, but I think one that we can focus on that ties together some of the initiatives with the strategic planning funding capacities that I know a number of small firms across the country run their own kind of study sessions, ARE study sessions. But again, it's kind of reinventing the wheel. I wish there was one kind of central location that could kind of take over, or if one chapter is doing it best with all of our digital and virtual tools, we should be able to set up, hit every month this chapter is running it, and maybe we run it in a couple different time zones across the country and have one point of contact. There should be no reason why someone shouldn't have access to a study session group across the country, and I think that's one way that we could really tie into what we're doing nationally.
Great. Thank you. And then Dana.
Thank you. 3 things that I'd like to focus on is revisit the due structures, because the expense to join AIA is very, very high for most members. And then elevate business insights. I don't think we focus enough on the small businesses and things that help them run their business on a daily basis. And then legal assistance. A lot of the contracts are becoming much more complicated, and clientele the same way. And so finding a way to give them like a help desk for legal assistance. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. And then Sarah.
Definitely. So I think it's unique. I think that these groups share a similarity in having some of the maybe least available resources and support, yet greatest potential for impact in both the present and the future in the profession. But they're also distinct. I think what emerging professionals versus those that are leading and starting their own small firms, those are kind of a very vastly different range. But when kind of looking at both the similarity to resources and also impact, I think the way to better support it, and it's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years in leading the Young Architects Forum, is really in connection to resources, those that are existing, whether it is from a mentorship all the way to firm leadership, organization, strategy, and business acumen, that the AIA really being a place nationally to connect all of these, both tangibly in anything material, but also in programming and mentorship and in those already leading and doing this work.
Great. Thank you. All right. So now we'll go into the 30 seconds each for a quick little closing statement. We'll start with Sam.
Well, here are my 4 goals if elected. Number 1, having the AIA submit an amicus brief to support the National Trust for Historic Preservation's lawsuit against the current administration for the demolition of the east wing of the White House and impending ballroom. Number 2, ensuring increased legal attention to our federal government concerning the protection of the architectural profession. Number 3, updating the FAIA process to reflect fair representation of our entire country and members. Bringing back the regional conferences to promote inter-regional dialogue is my number 4.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Jeff.
Yeah, so advocacy is one of my top priorities to really strengthen it, make sure that we're all speaking with one voice. And I hate introducing new concepts in a closing argument, but one thing I haven't been able to talk about is that I'm a client in the last 5 years, and so I really understand what clients value, and I think that as part of the messaging campaign we're going to have in the next couple of years, understanding what clients need, what clients value, is a way that I can help shape the messaging for architects on the board and beyond.
Thank you. Dana.
Thank you. 4 things that I'm going to focus on: transparency from the board down to the membership. Can't say enough about transparency, what's going on up there. Also, bringing value to the small businesses around the nation. They're important and they are part of AIA and need to feel that way. Also, real collaboration with the AEC community, and then all architects are thriving. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and last but not least, Sarah.
I would like to actually close with one of the questions that you had asked in your kind of write-up. So I wish some more architects understood the tangible value that local components bring to the AIA. I think that's the first opportunity that any architect really has to engage and see what that value is. And I know that I've seen it at some of its best and also some of its most frustrating. But beyond that, though, is the work of the National Board and an organization that impacts architects and our communities everywhere, regardless of whether people are members or not. And I think that's the heart of the organization that's not often seen or heard, but really is the value that I've been engaged in over the last decade, and I'm looking forward to engaging in over the next.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, so that concludes our round of questions for our candidates. We have about 7 minutes remaining, which is a little bit less than we had anticipated, but I will like to open up the floor to anybody, any of our other participants. If you have a question for a candidate or a group of candidates, please raise your hand, and then we will determine how long to give candidates to speak depending on what kind of question it is. So, do I have any questions from the audience? Viewer? Okay. Well, I've got a list of them, so I can keep asking. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm willing to stay longer.
Okay. We could run over a few minutes if we need to. My board has a board meeting directly after this, so just makes their night longer. All right, so I do have, let me see here.
Chris has got his hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Chris. Is your question for someone in particular or the group as a whole?
I guess probably the group as a whole. Just thoughts on how we do our best to diversify the profession so that we're representing the society that we're building for.
Okay, so let's give everybody 15 seconds, 20 seconds to put their thoughts in if they have a thought. Go ahead, Joyce.
Yeah, I have to say, having been on the national level for about over 10 years, I have seen a huge change in diversity in our profession and at our board level and in leadership. And I think whatever AIA is doing, they're already doing something well. And I'd like to see them continue it because it is a world of difference from 10 years ago. And I'm very happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth?
Yeah,
And then
I think
Raya?
that if the AIA becomes the organization that we want it to become, architects will want to be members of the AIA, and leadership and diversity will emerge organically. And so not only will architects want to become members of the AIA, but architects will want to become leaders of the AIA. If we can shape the AIA to what it should be, which is a global organizational model and a local organizational model serving the individual architects.
Thank you. And then I saw Raya, then Latoya, then Dana.
So representation matters always. And so when I was the first woman elected president of AIA Middle East in 2017, that inspired a whole generation. And it also engaged a lot of architects because everyone started seeing themselves being able to take that leadership role. So being a woman first elected helped a lot of people see themselves possibly in positions as such. And that is important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I believe Latoya was next, then Dana, then Sarah, then Willie.
Yes, at the AIA conference when Robert Easter accepted the Whitney M. Young Award, he mentioned that since 1975, when Whitney M. Young gave that speech, that the statistics and the data have not changed on African American architects in the profession. And that actually is the year that I was born, over 50 years ago. I think it's fundamentally important that we provide access points to the profession and that we appear as a profession like the communities that we are serving. And it's the diversity of the input to create those spaces that are inclusive, that are welcoming, and so that there's not this top-down monolithic approach to our profession. And the representation matters, but also engaging young people in the profession, programs like ACE, very early, so they know and understand what an architect does. But I don't think, we are doing enough. And frankly, when it came to equity this year, in the strategic plan, there was a cohort of people that did not want to include it because of the direction of the federal government. And being, one of the people in the room, I had to push back. And sometimes there have been times in that room where I'm the only voice pushing back. So it is important that those voices are reflected and are at the table, because at some times and in some points, if that perspective is not there, then it will not be stated in the room.
Well, thank you. Sarah.
Dana was before me, but I'm
Who
happy.
was?
I think.
Oh,
Dana
sorry,
was before me,
Dana.
yeah.
Real quick, after 20 years of being involved with AIA, I just felt like we were an elite club and siloed. And I stepped back and got involved with Design Build Institute of America, where the tent is huge. I've increased, being on the board, I've increased small business participation almost 100-fold. Looked at their dues and reduced their dues, have done other things to get that equity out there and get more people involved. We have a big tent. AIA can no longer be siloed. We have to get in and work and collaborate with the AEC community. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Latoya had said. In the strategic planning committee meetings when we were first drafting it, there was the question that came up of, do climate and equity remain as two pillars in the next 4 years of the strategic plan? And the room, it was almost like there was a vacuum of air when kind of that question got asked, and kind of this tentative nature of, is that even a real question? And it was. So I think that's indicative of, Chris, kind of your question of how do we continue to push this forward intentionally, not just organically, because there's human nature when it's organic, is you have the people that look like you that continue to remain in the room. So one thing that I've seen, and I've seen this through AIA Georgia and my experience there, is when you create leadership pathways and pipelines. Now, whether that's through a mentorship program like the Christopher Kelly Leadership Program, whether that's nationally through things like the Nexus Mentorship Program and the Align Mentorship Program, but you create these pathways that that provide avenues for soft skills and leadership development to anybody in their career, and access beyond just what they're getting in their firms and their day-to-day, but into the actual organization. And then that, as a board, that creates a pipeline for leadership pathways to you, to your board. It creates exposure, it creates engagement, it retains your members instead of just being general members, but starts to provide value through leadership development beyond just the walls of somebody's daily job. And so I think when you start to see that and you start to create multiple avenues and pathways, and maybe it is in an at-large or a non-voting board seat, but that does start to provide lower barriers to entry and engagement. You see somebody that's not only then just on a committee, that's not only on a leadership program, but now is on your board and then continues to ripple much further beyond just your state lines, and then how you're also bringing that back in.
Great. Thank you. And then Willie.
Thank you. I love what you said, Sarah. I'm probably, I represent that percentage that actually have gone through that whole process. And the ability to actually create and open doors for those underrepresented communities through the foundation that I established at the Queens Foundation for Architecture is one key aspect. So I think representation, and I'm one. I started to begin that, Latinos are a little bit less than 5% in the AIA membership. I want to be able to actually bring that up, and not only those that feel underrepresented, but also those components that may feel siloed as well. So it's all about inclusivity and making sure that everybody gets raised at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. All right. If our candidates have time for a couple more questions, there's one in the chat from one of our board members, specifically for the president-elect candidates. How have you found success leading groups that are geographically spread out? So for the president-elect candidates, let's go ahead and go in the same order that we went in earlier, and we'll just limit it to just a couple sentences. So we'll start with Raya.
So I guess the question is how we geographically. Okay, so that's a big challenge. And because a lot of people who are, like everything is more concentrated on the East Coast, being AIA National is on the East Coast. So a lot of components do share those issues. And the question is how we bridge that distance. And I think we have to create a framework in which that distance does not create any inequitable situations where access to leadership, to speaking, to being engaged, that is not affected by geographically further away locations. I have heard of these issues with a lot of leaders, and the way to go about it is to solve it in a way that is equitable and fair, and that communication and access to opportunities are not affected by geographical distance, and it is possible to achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kenneth.
A couple of things. Number one, when I was chairing the AI Public Education and Environmental Education Committees, we developed a Learning by Design program and the source book, and we developed a regional network. And so we met in person, but we also communicated by then the snail mail. Same thing with the state disaster assistance coordinators. Every state has one. As chair of the Disaster Assistance Committee, we work together that way. Now, it was during COVID, so we transitioned into the virtual meetings like this. But the other big thing is I'm involved in a lot of different organizations, and I was chair of the Upper Northeast Regional Committee of the U.S. Green Building Council. We had monthly calls. They were phone calls, not Zoom calls, but we had annual meetings, and as we said, in person, and they were very lively. And I think you want to talk about a diverse group, not only ethnically, racially, demographically, economically. The U.S. Green Building Council is far more diverse than the AIA is, and so we had regional conferences, and as we said, the mantra was. And we had 6 New England states and upstate New York, which is north of Manhattan. So we had 7 states, 1 sustainable state of mind. So I have deep experience in effectively dealing with groups that are not only geographically diverse and far apart, but also have varied and very strong opinions about many different things. And so the whole thing is bringing them together and just having his time. If you look at one of my LinkedIn postings, I posted an agenda for one of the Upper Northeast regional summits, and I call it somewhat of an agenda, and I think that that's emblematic of the type of attitude that we had. But it can be done. It can be done. I think that one of the things we need to do is, I mean, AI conferences are so expensive. It's ridiculous. We need to break things down and move the information, and not only information about what has been done or what meetings we went to, but what the board members, what the executive officers are thinking. So here's what we're thinking about. Here's where we're going. What can we do about it?
Thank you. All right, Kimball.
This feels like chipmunk speed with all these questions, but we appreciate it. COVID taught us a lot. We can do a lot of things remote. Kansas has experienced this a lot because we have a very dispersed groups. And so what has been happening, and I think has been a big push, is the communication from the central organization from AIA Kansas goes out to the organizations and they meet locally. There's a group around Wichita. There's a group, I mean, there's an architect in Dodge City. She's the only architect in Dodge City, but she's been included in these groups. So there's a lot of things that we can do and have been doing here.
Great, thank you. Joyce.
Yes. Thank you, Kimball. As always, good words. And I don't think we have any excuses anymore. I think that after COVID, there's no reason that we cannot communicate to each other geographically. I had a very interesting call with AIA International, and they were explaining to me how they were trying to get their sort of webinars into the conference this year, and that they were being held back from being allowed to do that. And they were disappointed that they weren't being allowed because the AI National was saying, no, you need to come to us and take our courses. And they were saying, which they rightly had the right to say, is yes, but we're doing other things because we're on a global scale and we want to talk about things that are happening at a different level, at a different ability, attacking and reacting to global issues and climate change and all of those things. And they wanted to talk about all those things and bring them. And so I think that we just need to break down all of those barriers and allow a way for all of us to be able to communicate very freely between us, because we don't have any excuses anymore.
Great, thank you. And I believe David dropped off. So we'll finalize with this question with Willie.
Thank you. And that's an excellent question. Breaking silos, right? And that's what I did when I was president of AIA New York State chapter. We actually restructured our governance model, mainly for those reasons, because everybody was feeling very siloed. And what I did there is that once I stepped down from the Strategic Council, I kind of modeled the aspect of the Strategic Council into our new governance model that was taking over within my president-elect position, and then on to being president. We actually put it in place during my presidency. And what we did there is that we actually created one leadership council that all presidents were able to actually come in and coalesce into one main voice. That means everybody to have a seat at the table and to be able to communicate and coalesce and strategize on certain things that they feel was important to them. And at the same time, bring that over to the local chapters and make sure that they also get represented at the same time. That is what I would bring to the table. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so thank you everybody for your questions. Thank you candidates for your time. We'll go ahead and wrap things up since we're going a little over. So just so everybody knows, your delegates, so we have representatives from multiple chapters here. So for people that don't know, your delegates at your chapter selects are going to go to conference. We're going to hear these wonderful folks speak again, I believe, at the annual meeting. I'm not sure.
No.
Okay.
At the caucus.
The caucuses, yes, we'll hear you speak. And then we'll get to vote for our preferred candidates after that. If you would like to know more information about each of these candidates, You can go online to AIA's website. They have a candidate booklet or a delegate information booklet that has everybody's resumes and histories and whatnot. Thank you, Jonathan, for putting that in the link or in the chat. So yeah, so thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to be here. I know this was kind of a crazy hour. It was a lot of information, in a very short amount of time, but we appreciate your time regardless. I'll ask that my board stays on the call because I'm going to commandeer your time for another hour and a half or so. But other than that, thank you everybody and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Can we be the fly on
Thank
the wall?
you.
Thank you all.
No.
Kelly, we have to get off the call and get on the other one because it's a different
Oh,
call number.
Okay.
never mind. Sorry, board.
Okay,
See ya.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much.
Great
Bye,
flag,
thank you.
great group.